So here I am at the Memorial Park of Fort Lewis. Now this is similar to the Memorial Grove on the McCord side, but this is on the Lewis side. Now these basalt columns are polished, and basalt in Washington and Pacific Northwest is actually quite a common occurrence. This isn't a difficult place to find, but due to the nature of everything that goes around, you'll notice I'll have some funny camera angles to just protect other things. But this is a bit bigger place of remembrance than Memorial Grove at McCord Field. However, with the symbolism here is that they're paying respects to every unit that has come through here and has lost people in specifically the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. So as you can see, as I get closer to them, we are seeing some of the monuments already. Now I'll do 2 loops so anybody who comes in late can see it, but we are at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park in JBLM, Washington State. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, I can film on here, but again, I'm aware of where I need to keep the camera away from. So there are some monuments I'll never go live for, such as the 91st Monument, which is an incredible monument, but the General's house is right next to it and we're not allowed to film that. So here's the first one that we're going to come to, the 42nd Military Police Brigade. Now if you can hear that, that's a Black Hawk flying in the distance. This is their memorial to those who have been killed in action. As you can see, it's updated all the way to 2011, and I do know for a fact that these memorials are updated as unfortunately necessary. Now, I've photo documented all of these monuments before. This is the first time I'm doing a video about it. It's spread out a little bit more than Memorial Grove on the McCord side, but I will get to everything. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. So anything you see, I will get to. But we're in a older part of Fort Lewis in general. Now I say older, I'm using air quotes because the oldest part of Fort Lewis is actually what is now called North Fort. But this is one of the older parts. So there is a lot of space in between memorials, so bear with me. The next one we're coming up on is what's called the Triple Nickel. Now this is the 555 and it's an engineering brigade. They actually have 2 memorials on the installation. The other one is at the Fort Lewis Army Museum. And again, these are all the individuals they've lost during the war on terror. I honestly try to visit every chance I get. And I just happened to have the chance to visit today because my business took me to here. I will not lie. I know some of the names on these monuments, a couple of these monuments personally. And hearing about their death was hard. But I feel the only way you can properly honor men and women like this is to pay tribute to their graves, pay tribute to their memorials. Thank you all for the likes and follows. Please keep it up. It helps me keep up and doing things like this. Now, this is interesting because this is one of the bigger ones. And it has some really interesting stuff on it. Like you'll see beer cans a lot. And that's just a symbolism of, giving one more drink to your friends. But here we have one of the 2nd Infantry Division's 4th Brigade Raiders monument. This is a bigger one, and like I said, these are updated as unfortunately necessary. In case anybody's wondering, the surge is when I was in Iraq. And what I really appreciated about these is that you'll notice that some of them have the non-combat related marker, but they still honor them and their memories here in their memorials. Now, this particular brigade went to both theaters, as you can see here. And this is their bigger memorial. This is kind of the centerpiece. So it's a very quiet place. It's away from the busyness of the fort, which I think is appropriate for the remembrance of these individuals. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. We are at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park on Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. Make sure you hit that like and follow so I can find better reasons to go do things like this. I will be doing 2 laps of this, so if you missed anything at the beginning, you will have a chance to come back around and see it. But the whole memorial park gives a very somber feeling of remembrance and respect, and it's very much appreciated because the sacrifices that these individuals made is just some of the ones that can never be fully repaid. And the first time I ever came here, it was hard. It took me nearly 2 hours to get through the entirety of the park because I was stopping and reading every single name. And it just was hard to get through the whole park. It hit a lot harder than I would think. I think partly because Fort Lewis was my first duty station ever in the Army. All right, we're coming up on our next memorial. So, and it's here. This one is probably my favorite because, and I'll show you the feature, there's a feature on it that I really like, but it's the 2nd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. As the bench says here, seize the high ground. And what you don't, well, hopefully you can see, is they have boot prints that get progressively lighter until they just disappear. And I find that really impactful. Again, I will be going through a second time, so if you miss anything the first time, I will be going through again. Thank you all very much for the likes and follows, and especially if you send a gift, thank you very much. Everything I do or gain here, so you can see, like I mentioned, they do update appropriately. 2018. Everything I get here, I put right back into bringing more history. And as you follow my channel, you'll know it's particularly military history. Right. Moving on, we're gonna head to the next monument. And there's only a handful of them here, but each one is done so amazingly well. It's hard to pick a favorite. I love 2nd Brigade's one, but 3rd Brigade also has an amazing one as well. And every part of this is symbolistic, or has symbolism, I should say. You can see they've paid to put the bricks here. Words are even more feeble, for the sight before us is of a strong and good nation that stands in silence. And remember those who were loved and who, in return, loved their countrymen enough to die for them. Ronald Reagan. This is the Arrowhead Memorial, as they call it here. There's a lot of glare, so if you're asking a question, you might have to ask it more than once so I can actually see it. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. President John F. Kennedy. For the love of a country, they accepted death, and thus resolved all doubts, made immortal their patriotism and their virtue. President James A. Garfield. Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned an undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices. President Harry S. Truman. And then this is the main part of 3rd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division's monument. The detail on the soldier is quite amazing. And any service member will recognize the boot, the helmet, and the weapon. This is done during their multiple deployments. So each part of the octagon here, I believe it's an octagon, represents a different deployment. And this part over here, I believe, is for the 1st Brigade. Dedicated by 3rd Brigade, 3rd Striker Brigade Combat Team, 2nd Infantry Division, and Arrowhead Soldier and Family Fun at Fort Lewis, Washington, 10 October 2007. So we're going to go to the last memorial now, and then we are going to head on a second loop. Really appreciate you all giving me the likes and the follows and the gifts. Really helps me keep going on these things, and really I'm very grateful for all your support. This is the 125th Striker Brigade Combat Team. These are the names for their Operation Iraqi Freedom 3, just from those dates. And they also have the benches here. This being the 25th Infantry Division patch. These being the crests of the brigades inside of them. And this being the 25th Infantry Division crest. So thank you again for joining, liking, and following. We are at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park. I'm going to go around one more time to make sure that anybody who has a chance got to see the entirety of the park. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll do everything I can to get to those. There's a lot of glare today on the phone, so if I don't see that right away, I apologize. So this is at Fort Lewis, and it's really tucked away at kind of a hidden part of the base. Now you can access this as general public. You will just need to go through the security gates and the process to gain base access. It's truthfully not that difficult. If you're in Washington, you can use your enhanced driver's license. Or if you don't have an enhanced driver's license, you can stop by the gate and get a temporary pass. However, you have to be very clear about where you're going, why you're going, and what the purpose of your visit is, all that stuff. It's not that they're particular about it, but it's that they need to know who, why, and where people are going. So, as I said, we're at the Memorial Park, Fort Lewis, Washington. It is visitable to the public. You can come visit, but you will have to go through the gate. recommend Googling Joint Base Lewis McChord Security Gate, and they will guide you, the results will guide you to the process of how to get on the base legally. Thank you, Mike Goodman. Yes, it's both it's memorable and historic. If you're just joining, we're at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park. It's where most of the brigades have their memorials to the fallen soldiers. Very similar to, McChord Fields Memorial Grove, but obviously on the Lewis side. And these are directed towards units, whereas Memorial Grove is directed to at-large more. You have to forgive me, it's a little over 90 degrees outside, and I am clearly climatized to winter. The first one we're going to visit here, 42nd Military Police Brigade. In case you can't see it, it says, "When you go home, tell them of us and say, for their tomorrow we gave today." All of these individuals were killed in the line of duty for the Military Police Brigade. If you have any questions, please let me know. Questions, comments. We'll get back to the memorial here. We'll get down to the memorial over there. And yes, it is just down the road from Parkland. It's an amazing memorial park. It's very peaceful. I will not say who, but I know of at least 3 friends who are in this park. At least their names are. And when I first went through it, spent nearly 2 hours because it just was that difficult to get through. Some of these gentlemen I hadn't thought of in years, all of a sudden I'm seeing their name. And it kind of changes how you look at things. We're coming up on the triple nickel for fallen warriors. They actually have 2. The other one is by the Lewis Army Museum. So this is another monument. I'm going slow to give everybody a chance if they want to kind of skim the names a little. This is open to the public. Should you ever want to do this, to visit, you just have to go through the Fort Lewis security gates, or the JBLM security gates. Thank you all for the likes and follows. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the gifts. That's very kind of you all. I'm on my second lap. I won't be doing a third because I'm giving up my lunch break, my lunch hour, to come do this because I feel this is probably more important. Here we have 4th Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. Theirs is the largest and has some of the most names, unfortunately. They have 2 placards that represent Iraq, and they have another placard that represents Afghanistan. Keep hitting that like and follow. Really encourages me to keep doing this. For those who are just joining, we're at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park on Joint Base Lewis McChord. As you can see here, a lot of their mates have left a final drink for their friends. It's a very common tradition. And here we have the main pillar of the brigade. I think I like most is that this is put in a very quiet place. There's not a lot of traffic, and the traffic that is here is kept quiet and minimal. I don't mind Memorial Grove at the McChord side, but it is very close to the gate, so there's a lot of busy traffic. However, they don't have a better place, and to move it now would be a little silly. Thank you all for who's just joined, hitting that like and follow. I really appreciate it. We are live at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park. For those of you who don't know, this is that joint base, Lewis-McChord. It was joined in 2011 or 10. I have to look that one up to make sure I'm right. And really only a few miles separate these two bases. Each base has a memorial park to it. McChord's is called Memorial Grove. Lewis is called Memorial Park. And most of the units stationed here, most of the brigades stationed here, have a piece of the Memorial Park here. It is sadly updated as necessary for any one of their members who needs it to be. 2nd Brigade is probably my favorite one here. And not because it's small and simple, but because of this. They have footprints here that progressively get lighter and lighter until they disappear. It's really amazing to see that because it's very impactful. So we're moving on. We're going to go to 3rd and 1st Brigades right there. It's not huge. It's a little bigger than Memorial Grove, but it has a more direct approach. Memorial Grove is more generalized to everyone, though it does specifically mention units. It doesn't do that very often, whereas this one is directed specifically for particular units. This is 1st and 3rd Brigades, 2nd Infantry Division monument. So you can see when they built it, and I think you still can buy bricks, but I don't know where it is. You can see their company, their unit coins there as well. Each one of the benches has a quote by the presidents. This one by Harry Truman. And then we have one by James Garfield. Next is John F. Kennedy's. The Memorial Dedication Committee plaque. And then the one by Ronald Reagan. So this is 1st and 3rd Brigades memorial. Every soldier will recognize this. But each one of these sides represents those lost in that particular deployment. And then this part here becomes 1st Brigades. Apologize for the sun glare here. And I appreciate anybody who's watched the entire time. Let me know. I really, really appreciate you watching for the entirety. And then we have one more to get to. For anybody who just joined, we're at the... And then we have one more to get to. For anybody who just joined, we're at the Fort Lewis Memorial Park. This is my second lap. I'm only going to be able to do 2 today. I felt this was more important than grabbing something for lunch because my work doesn't take me to Fort Lewis very often. So when it does, I like to make sure that I have a chance to visit places like this. And this is the 125th Stryker Brigade Combat Team for those who lost in Operation Recce Freedom 3. And then on these, they have the 25th patch, and then all the brigade crests, and then 25th crest. So that all of them are expressed here and remembered. So that's it. That's the entirety of the park. I'm sure there'll be some sort of ceremony here on Memorial Day. I've been invited to attend a couple in the area, and I'm trying to see which ones I want to go to because I'd like to take my kids along. But be sure to hit that like button, follow, and you'll see more content like this. It's really a pleasure to bring it to you. The gifts, the likes, the follows, they all help me continue to do that. So I hope to see you all another time. I'm going to be signing off. I want to thank you again for joining me. And I hope you all have a great day. And I will see you another time when I find something historical to go live at.